Hey, I see you're ready to bloom, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to What People Miss with Cordelia Gaffar, the ultimate joy goddess and two-time award-winning podcast host and best-selling author. This is your space to explore all those quiet moments people overlook when they're trying to actually thrive. Through these conversations, you'll get a real taste of how Cordelia coaches and her signature methods, Replenish Me and the four-mind alignment, actually work in real life. Here's the thing, your body needs to move, your belly needs fuel, your heart needs to feel all the feels, and your brain needs some serious sleep. When you bring all four of these together, that's your four-mind alignment, and it's all built on the foundation of Replenish Me, which is basically about learning to take care of yourself the way you actually deserve. So are you ready to break free and feel amazing? Stick around and discover what you've been missing about truly savoring your life.
Hello, and welcome to What People Miss. Shortly, we will be joined by my longtime friend and more recently, client. And first, I would like to say it's not New Year for everyone, but new solar year. Welcome to 2026. Are you going to continue the patterns of behavior and life that have gotten you to where you are now? I've had a few conversations since the year has begun, or even at the end of last year, and many people are very happy to see 2025 leave. But what are you bringing into 2026? My invitation is to create from a place of savoring life. No matter what your plight is, no matter what your story has been, there's nothing that can keep you from continuous moments of joy and pleasure, which is always my invitation. We have a choice to grieve in a way that hollows us out and takes away our essence, takes away our voice, takes away our well-being, or from a place of savoring the moments that you had with that person, with that job, in that house, whatever it is that you're grieving the loss of. While we're waiting for my guest, I'll share a short story of mine about grieving. More recently, right? Although I wanted to get a divorce, I grieved that my marriage had ended. And this is how I came upon changing my name, right? Or choosing to call myself the ultimate joy goddess, because there were so many things happening. So many experiences that were new and that were pivotal and I could have viewed as challenging or struggle or survival, especially survival. Instead, I chose to view them as character building, as life changing, as expansive, and opportunities to explore, to go deeper, to unearth self-nurturing like never before. And this is where I'm coming from when I talk about savoring life, when I talk about choosing joy and pleasure in every moment, because you really do have a choice. And for those of you who are viewing and listening and may have gone through a divorce, you may have experienced some things similar to me. that made you feel like you were in survival mode, that made you feel like you were really grieving, that made you feel very angry or experience deep rage or oceans of sadness, which usually live underneath rage. And not in a Pollyanna or toxic positivity way, but in a way to save my soul, in a way to set an example for my children who live with me and those who don't live with me. What does it feel like to actually savor your life? And so this, you see, I talk about sweet talk. And so my sweet talk was, remember, you have a choice in every moment to say something sweet to yourself or to talk yourself out of something. And so one of them was Joy Monger, the world's best, and then the ultimate. But mongering joy, I think, is mongering anything isn't great. But embodying it and mastering it, I think, is the best way to align your mind, your heart, your stomach, and your lotus verse. And those are the things that you must replenish in any relationship, especially in a marriage. And the first marriage is to oneself and then to another. And so in my period of grieving, I chose to call myself the ultimate joy goddess because that to me meant ultimate mastery of self. So this year on What People Miss, I'll be interviewing colleagues, clients, friends who I've worked with or who have similar beliefs as me. And we'll be talking about what savoring life looks like for each one of them in each scenario, right? And Maritza is like me. Well, she's similar to me, right? So she's a home educating mom with 7 children. Most of them, of course, are adults at this point, just like me. However, this is what is detaining her because she was in a meeting, and so she said that she would be here shortly. And so we were talking the other day, and I said, you know what? We should go live and talk about this. I said, in fact, Tuesday's my podcast. Maybe I'll do live, because I haven't done that in many years. So I prefer doing live because it's easier, it's faster. There's no editing, and once you say it, it's done. And so I really want her to tell her story. But if you saw any of my posts on LinkedIn, you may have seen a little bit of her story. We reconnected, I want to say shortly after She lost her husband in a tragic accident some years ago. About the same time, I discovered that I'm the ultimate joy goddess, right? And I invited her to join my, I think I wasn't quite calling it the ultimate joy goddess community at that time, but we worked together privately first because she's a very private person. But eventually, over the course of the year, she started to come to the community events, and the ones I had in person and the ones that I had virtually. And one thing that we love to do together, and that I love to do at all of my events, is move our hips. And there's so much science behind it. And also, it's part of our tradition, right? So she is Mexican, she's Afro Latino, and I am Caribbean. So in both cases, we are in the habit of moving our hips a lot. And happy accident, it also happens to be somatic movement, because during my grieving process, I enrolled in a somatic movement certification program, which was 9 months, right? Birthing. And simultaneously with my Tantra. And then when I ended Tantra, began somatic sexology and CAP. And so I'm currently continuing that 3-year program of somatic sexology, and moving towards being a CAP facilitator with Jamila. So in all cases, there is this Kundalini energy that's being moved through the body, and it's restorative. People that have known me over the years have noticed that I'm actually aging backwards, and um, there are many reasons, right? I've always maintained a certain level of eating, um, and a certain level of movement, but there's something very distinct about somatic movement and somatic breath work. In the 20 years that I lifted weights, I never attained the definition in my core and my abdomen that I have now. And that is simply from breath work and somatic movement. And, it's this combination of the 4-mind alignment that I've created is the only distinction, right? So my workout went from weight training 4 times a week to breath work every single day, multiple times a day, so that I can work through all the experiences that were coming to me. So as I continued to, to be a student in these programs, the invitation is to also be a student of myself and the deep nurturing practices that have emerged out of that. So some of you who listen to my podcast may have read my last book, Detached Love, Transforming Your Heart so that you can transform your mind. And in there, I detail the Replenish Me process and how to create that for yourself. Well, that Replenish Me process got an upgrade, and that's what the 4-mind alignment is. I dropped my phone, which I have on my lap because I'm checking to see any updates from Maritza. So, and with that upgrade is, oh, there she is. Yay.
Sorry, apologize. That went over way over.
No need to apologize.
Okay.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Excellent. Oh, you just always look so gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I've been here just going on about my process. We reconnected some years ago when I was going through my process of grieving, right? Grieving my divorce. And
Mm-hmm.
you were beginning your process of grieving. And so I was just talking about like in our respective cultures, we move our hips a lot and all that.
Yes, we do.
um, and so that is part of what helped us to savor life. But I didn't tell your story. So take us
Okay.
back.
Where are we starting? Like, take you back to why you jumped in to assist me? That's where you want me to start?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so my husband was killed. It was so sudden. He hadn't even been gone home away from home for an hour. And he was hit by a car and he was killed. And the grief was destroying me. It was destroying me from inside out, even though I was trying to maintain and maintain the household and help the children through uh, the grief and the trauma. And I was trying to get myself through it as well. Then I had to deal with, going to trial because it was a reckless driver killed him. He was not in the wrong. He wasn't even in the street. He was in a parking lot, and a car from the street made a reckless decision. She decided to make a stupid decision and she caused a wreck. And the car she hit lost control and went down into the parking lot and hit my husband and killed him while he was on the way to an appointment.
I'm
So
so
it
sorry.
was, yeah, it was awful. It was a horrible experience. Somebody so strong and healthy and alive, and you don't expect that. There was nothing, it was one of those shockers because he wasn't ill and we were caring for him or anything like that. He just left home and didn't come back. So dealing with that, I was really having a hard time and I couldn't eat and I lost lots of weight. I had ulcers and I lost my ability to sing. And you came along and you jumped right in like the friend that you are and taught me all these techniques and how to redirect all that negative energy that was boiling over inside of me and how to actually reconnect with the earth. Because remember, even reconnect with myself first, because the first thing I told you is I feel like a puzzle piece, like a puzzle
Mm.
that had 1,000 pieces and somebody took them and just threw the box up in the air and all the pieces went everywhere. That's the way I felt. That was the best description I had for myself because I did not feel whole at all. And I didn't even feel partially. I felt completely destroyed. And watching my children deal with it was harder on me than it was on me losing my husband. Watching my children deal with losing their dad, oh my goodness. It's very hard, especially when you walk into your child's room and they're praying and saying, God, please give me my dad back. Please give me my dad back. You know, God, can you hear me? I need my daddy. Stuff like that. That destroys you. You're the
It
parent
does.
that's left behind. And so attending our one-on-ones and even some of your group discussions, I was able to learn a lot about how to process all of that grief. And I remember I told you, I said, I don't want my children to be in pain. I want to take it from them. And you told me I didn't have a right to do that because they're supposed to go through it and work through it. They had to. And I couldn't do anything to stop that. And I shouldn't. And that was very wise. And now, and hindsight, I saw it then when you explained it. I understood. And now that it's been 3 years, I really understand because I can see the progress versus if I had tried to make them not experience it, feel it. I think it would be their behavior probably would be horrible by now because all of that just would be roaming around in them. And so yeah, I really appreciate you. You know that you my girl, and that's why I try to log in whenever I can. You're wise, you're kind, and you have been a rock for me. You really have. You really have, and I
I'm
appreciate that.
glad to be there for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now I remember it was like last summer you reached out and you were like, I'm singing. And I was like, you're singing?
Mm-hmm. Yes. It was like, yeah, I lost my voice, and then when it started coming back, I started singing. And my husband used to fuss at me because I wouldn't sing. I used to sing like I used to do stage plays and travel, and I was in blues bands, stuff like that. I did all that in the '90s, like, and he used to fuss at me and say, "Why you don't sing no more?" And I didn't want to. I just didn't want to be out there. And he used to say, "I just wish you would get up there." And before he passed away, I did tell him I would get back on stage and sing. But I said I would only do it with him because he was getting his band back together. But I told him I would do it occasionally, and of course, after I lost my voice, there was nothing to do. And that shattered me too because, you lose your husband. That's part of your identity, your as a wife, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
part of it. Now, I never made that my entire identity. I've always been Maritza.
Mm-hmm.
Maritza, who is the wife and mother, not the wife and mother who is Maritza. It's not that way. I'm
Ah,
Maritza first. Okay.
yes.
So I
And this,
lost.
I want to pause on that one for a second. This is a very important point that you just made because, a lot of women, they just let their lives, like they lose themselves in their
Right.
marriage and their kids. And
Mhm.
I want to also express, as a mom of 7 children, I only have 6, right? She made that decision to prioritize herself always. So that's a very important distinction. So I just wanted to pull that out because
Mhm.
you are quite remarkable.
Thank you. So, well, I lost that, right? So now I've got to figure out who am I. But I lost my voice. My voice was me. So that's Maritza right there. The music is Maritza. And
Hmm.
losing that was completely losing me because I was that before I ever met my husband. You understand? So I completely lost I didn't have me. I was nobody, and that's how I felt. I look in the mirror. Who is that? I don't know who that is. Who is she now? She can't sing, which is that pretty much my whole identity. And
Yeah.
then I lost my husband, who I was like attached to like this. My mother called us Siamese twins. And his family would say, I know if I see one of you out, I know the other one is right around the corner somewhere on the other aisle because you didn't see one without the other. So it
Mhm.
was very difficult. But again, you did help me through that. And but once I started getting my voice back, I started dreaming about him a lot. Like I always told you I've always had dreams. I've always had very good, vivid dreams, beautiful dreams that will just take me through the day. They will make my day. But I started having dreams of him with his guitar, and he would be playing and say, "You told me you was gonna start singing again. Come on, you ready?" And I'd be like, I don't want to do it. And he's like, "Well, you said you were," and I kept him getting these dreams night after night after night. So finally, I started making videos. That's what pushed me. I said, I'm gonna just make a video and post it on Facebook. And then I got the feedback. And I was like, but I know I can do better than that. And then I did it again and I just kept doing it, and that's and the dream stopped after that. I've dreamed of him since then, but it wasn't him with his guitar saying, come on, you told me you were going to sing. You ready? Let's go. And he would be playing and, you bring it in, you bring the singer in, change the way you tune it, this the way you play the tune, all that stuff. And I just be like, I don't know what to. Yeah, I am. And just because I started doing those videos as therapy for myself, um, it's taking me a lot of places. You
Yeah,
know,
it's about to
that I
take you somewhere special.
yes, to the International Blues Challenge. That's right. Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Like from just completely in pieces to wholeness, you know, and now on stages. I'm so proud of you.
Thank
Like
you.
I knew a whole celebrity.
What? Well, I've always felt that way about you, Miss Award-winning podcaster and all that stuff. Author, it's like my celebrity friend right there.
Now we both celebrities. How about that?
Well, yes, you are. But I really want to say this. There's something I did address it in the video that I made one time. I made a thank you video to you, and I did
Mhm.
address it. I didn't realize that rage is stored here. I didn't realize till, and it's so crazy because I'm always so busy. I have a very hard time getting into your lives. But that day, somehow I had enough time to sit and listen to your whole live. And that's when you started talking about throat chakras and what the rage, how rage is stored in the throat chakras and stuff. And then I started thinking, because something that I used to tell you as well and other people is I have so much rage. And that's the word I would use of
Mhm.
what happened to my husband, the way he was taken from us, and the way it happened to him because he wasn't doing nothing wrong. He minded his business. And he was a good man. He was a good father. He was a great husband. All this stuff. He was my best friend. And it just, to have him snatched like that, of course I'm angry. I was enraged. But it was so
Yeah.
deep in my guts that I could feel it. It was like, you put a teapot on, but you don't turn it up high enough for it to whistle. It was like that. So it's just sitting in there, just bubbling and bubbling and bubbling and bubbling, but it never whistled. And I used to
Mm.
have a fear that one day I would just be out somewhere or something and something tiny happened, but I go boom, and everybody's like, well, only thing happened was, and now I'm looking like some type of lunatic, right? So that, my throat was locked when that rage was in there, but that rage, when I started able to get the songs, the sound out of my throat, the rage started rising and I could actually feel it. Whereas before I knew it was in there, I couldn't access it. But then when I started singing, I could feel it. And
Yeah.
it was coming up. And I'm talking about it was bad. And I had to just, that's why sometimes it was multiple videos in one night that I would post because it would hit me so hard. And I decided I would redirect it. And I would call LB and say, LB, you got to get up here. I want to do a song right quick. Come here. So we hurry up and throw all our blue on, and then go record. It was just that spontaneous because
Wow.
those emotions were hitting. And somebody might see it and say, oh, that girl just singing so hard, whatever. They don't realize. But now if they hear the story, they'll say she was singing so hard because she was pulling those emotions out. And it
Yeah.
really helped. It worked because you have to redirect it. The urge to go get, you want to be on get back time so bad. That's something you really want to do in situations like that,
Yeah.
especially when you see the way your kids are in pain and you know what they did was dumb. It was just a stupid decision and it could have all been avoided. Um, yeah, so you have to. My alarm's going off. Sorry. I'm sorry,
That's okay.
but
Look,
yes, you have to
you're a real
redirect.
busy woman. You have to have alarms.
I know they remind me of everything. I have to keep that thing on going all day so I don't forget anything. But fortunately, I don't experience that rage the same anymore. The singing did help. It really helped and it got out. But you taught me that day that the rage is stored here. And it just
Mhm.
all tied in and it made so much sense. Why, when I was so angry, but I couldn't do anything about it, my throat just completely closed up.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
And now it's completely open, you know? And I feel like that's something that people miss. A lot of women think that they're silent because they can't talk, or, you know, there's a barrier. But just an opening your mouth, right? And allowing the sound to come out, connecting with that deep emotion, connecting with that rage. I'm gonna tell you, I believe we all have rage, but because it's not politically correct, and because especially if we're Black women, we have this angry Black woman persona that we don't want to be, right?
Mm-hmm. We're
But
so afraid of
the
the stereotype.
beauty, but the beauty of expressing the rage, there are such beautiful ways. I mean, we got Eartha Kitt was angry as fuck, right?
And she
And
let
look
us
what
know.
she did.
And she let us know. I love her for that. I love her for that.
Yes.
Well, one thing about me, and you know me, I don't care what you think. I'm not holding my stuff in, okay? You're gonna stereotype me regardless anyway. I can sit here
Yeah.
quiet, and then you're gonna say, "Well, why you not smiling?" You get that. You should smile. No, I don't want to. What I'm smiling for? I would smile if I have something to smile about, right? So
Yeah.
it's all that stuff. We go through that anyway. So and like I said, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I ain't gonna sit here and be rusty. So if I don't like something, I'm gonna say it. And I'll say it to you, and we can be respectful, or we can go wherever. It depends on what a situation calls for. But I'm not going to be silent, and I wasn't going to be silent about my rage. I just couldn't get to it. It was
Yeah.
just stuck. I couldn't get it. It just wouldn't come out. But I refused to hold in my emotions to make other people comfortable. I would never do that, and I don't raise my daughter to do that, because that's how you get run over, and that's how people pile all of their garbage on top of you for you to carry while they live the free life, because you don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. That's not living. That's not savoring life. That's what we
At all.
require
Mm-mm.
at all.
It's not.
So now that you sing on a regular basis, how's your relationship with your emotions? And how's your grieving process?
It's improved. I can say 100 times over, because I'm not even a zombie anymore. It was like I was a zombie. And I remember one day I was talking to my sister-in-law. She had come over, and she said, "You really talking to me?" She said. I was like, "What you mean?" I said, "I always talk." She said, "No, I feel like we're actually talking to each other now. Whereas before, I just felt like I was talking at you." You know what I mean? So apparently, whatever that wall was, or wherever that lost space I was in, I was coming out of it. I started coming out of it, and clearly she saw the difference. Uh-oh. Hello? What in the world? You still there? Cordelia.
And until next week, share this with another heart, share this with another soul.